everyone. Welcome back to talk more about our SERA Sustainability Action Plan. Today we're talking about human health and well-being. We're going to dig into this topic with Mark and Matt here. I'm Beth Lavelle. I'm an architect at SERA in our housing studio, and I'm also a part of our sustainability resources group. Mark, could you introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah, Mark Perepelitza. I'm Director of Sustainability at SERA and also a principal. And then we have Matt with us today as well.
Hi, I'm Matt Piccone. I kind of switch around studios a bit from architecture to urban design and planning to site and landscape design. And I'm also part of the sustainability resources group. So thanks for having us, Beth.
Yeah, thank you for joining. So as we mentioned in our last session, earlier this year, SERA updated our Sustainability Action Plan, which is a kind of a living document that outlines SERA's sustainability vision and provides a framework for action in a broad range of interrelated topics. Mark is showing it here. So today's topic is health and well-being. And before we jump into the specifics, let's talk briefly about why this topic matters, why it's the first topic that we're covering in detail. Mark, can you dig into that for us?
Sure. Yeah. I think this is a really great topic, and the reason why it's so interesting is, as architects, as designers, and planners, we design places and buildings for people. So unlike maybe a sculpture artist or who's making an object to view, or an industrial designer who's making objects, or a machine, we're really designing human, or designing for the human experience. And so it's really something that we all care a lot about. We go to design school and really focus on that, and so it's certainly something that we're passionate about. And we're not just interested in making an amazing, one-time human experience, but we want to make buildings and places that people inhabit, where they live and work, where they feel comfortable and they're safe and happy and healthy in those places. So this is just a topic that we're just super interested in.
Excellent. So before we get into too much detail, let's bring up our project compass again, and briefly outline the categories that we're talking about in this health and wellness big picture topic. Mark,
Sure.
can you talk us through what are the subcategories under this?
Yeah, is that on the screen now?
Yep.
Okay, great. Yeah, so here's the overall compass, and we're really talking about this third over on the upper right there. So we're kind of in the broad categories of health and happiness and knowledge. And then we can kind of zoom in a little bit more on that. Hopefully you can read this. There's a whole range of topics, and there's a lot of interconnection, not just within this category, but with resource use and some of the others. But we really focus a lot on thermal comfort, on daylighting and visual comfort, on air quality, healthy materials, and acoustics. But one area that's super interesting, and we have a lot of interest and passion in across the firm, to be honest, is in the connections to nature, which is also known as biophilia. So Matt's really led this effort in our office, and which is why we've brought him in today.
Thanks, Mark. Matt, so can you help kick us off here, digging into biophilia? Tell us kind of what is biophilia? What does that mean? And what has SERA learned through research on this topic?
Yeah, absolutely. So we, as a firm, made an effort for a good 2 years plus to really dive into the topic and figure out all there was out there. Look at the research, look at the the frameworks by Terrapin and Stephen Kellert and Living Building Challenge and everything, and put it together and figure out what it means to us. And kind of the biggest thing we found is that it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And we as humans have evolved in our environment for millennia, and have evolved all different ways to connect with our environment. And you can kind of see here, this is from Stephen Kellert's biophilia hypothesis, as a good framework just to understand that when you're presenting an idea or you're figuring out how will a human being experience this space, to recognize that we connect with our environment physically, mentally, emotionally, intellectually, and we all have different ways, whether it is a spiritual connection or a more utilitarian connection. Biophilia is about finding and enhancing value of nature in the built environment. And so biggest takeaway, and it becomes this kind of filter for adding value to maybe best practice design solutions that architecture has been utilizing for decades, or as a way to look at design problem in a different way, and find novelty and find maybe things that don't exist now in our environment, and push the field forward. And so there's a lot of different approaches and a lot of different language around it, and sometimes we don't even use the term biophilia when we're talking about it. We, depending on who we're talking to, we try to recognize that people approach it in different ways.
That's great. So Matt, how do these ideas translate into our sustainability action plan? And I see some goals on the screen here that Mark is sharing. Can you talk us through how we translate these ideas to our design work?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, as part of that effort, we had people from urban design and planning, from interiors, from architecture, and across all studios. And so we like to think about, ways in which all disciplines can kind of come together to create these cohesive spaces, and to make sure that everyone is at the table thinking about how to invite nature more into their space. And we think the biggest thing you can do, the most important thing you can do, is to understand your site. Biophilic design is place-based design, and it takes everything from your site and enhances it and recognizes it and celebrates it and capture it to the benefit of the people occupying that space. And so, really looking at an in-depth site analysis that not only explores and discovers the cultural history, the ecological history, but also looking at grading and soils and topography and habitat and vegetation, and movements, and all the things that really make a site what it is, and looking at how it has evolved over time, is really important to figure out how can we interject into that site, and make sure it's going down a path that is beneficial to people and to all life, ecological and human based. And so we look at that as kind of our main approach, is really biophilic design is place-based design.
Awesome.
Nice.
Matt, so can you share with us a project example of how we've taken these ideas that you're talking about of place-based design and integrating these themes of biophilia, and what does that look like on a project?
Yeah, absolutely. So during our efforts, we had a couple different champions involved in a hospitality hotel project downtown called Hyatt Centric Portland. I think it just opened recently, actually. And during this process, I think we had several charrettes that again invited people from urban planning and architecture and interiors to come together and figure out how do these ideas translate in a building. And it really did a great job in tying together kind of cultural history, industrial history, ecological history with the kind of basalt column, faceted facade that picks up daylight in different ways, and really talking about how do you make people that aren't from here, from a hotel, come and feel comfortable, and also feel like they belong here, and then they can use this as a base to explore. And so really what biophilic design does is, you may be familiar with the 14 patterns of biophilic design by Terrapin. Essentially, biophilia is looking at those most common ways in which we as humans are comfortable and feel productive and safe in our environments. And so, really, it's a great lens to talk about the stuff that Mark was saying, the human focus on how do we create spaces and make people be at their best. And so I like to use the rendering at the left as a great example, and something you might notice from that rendering that's different from most that you see is it's not sunny and blue sky like the actual picture on your right, but it's in the rain. And so, biophilia is not just painting the blue sky picture. It's recognizing again the patterns of place, and how can we make people feel great in all conditions, in all weathers, and in all situations and environments that really play to that. And I think that's something that we can just do a little more thought on, and understand how we can invite natural systems in and celebrate those things, and make them more of a forefront to our design and to our urban environments.
That's great.
Thanks, Matt. So to me, the big takeaway here, and tying this back to the Sustainability Action Plan again, is that biophilia is kind of the one representation of how our SERA's commitment to sustainability is really human focused. Mark or Matt, do you have any other big takeaways from this discussion?
Yeah, I think just one thing I wanted to build on a little bit that Matt was talking about is just the daily and seasonal change that's really important to us as humans. And it's really a multi-sensory experience that we as humans like crave, and we thrive when we have that kind of experience. And so making sure that our buildings aren't just these sort of like monolithic kind of consistent, fluorescent unvariable like conditions, but it's have those connections to nature and change, and so that we are much more grounded in the world. So I think that those needs of humans is really so well served by biophilia.
Yeah, I think the really biophilia can be seen as a filter to all other Project Compass topics, and so you can design a successful project looking at all the other topics, but really biophilia takes all of the systems and the functions of the building and replaces it with or edges towards using more natural systems in those experiences. And so you can manage stormwater really efficiently by capturing on a roof and taking it down a pipe and bringing it into the sewer, or you can really highlight it and daylight it and celebrate it, and really see the benefits that it brings to people and to the experiences. And so kind of think of it as a filter on all the other health and well-being and place-based topics that we're exploring.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Matt. It's really nice to have this well represented in our sustainability action plan and to have those goals, because this is really something that's so relevant to every project that we do. And we want to be thinking about it, whether or not a client comes and is explicitly asking for it. It's something that really belongs in every project.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. This has been an awesome conversation. Thank you both for joining me. I think we're out of time for today. Next up, in our following session, Mark and I are going to be talking with Lindsay about resource management and climate impacts. So I think that's all for today. Thank you both, and
Great.
I'll see you soon.
Yeah,
All
thanks.
right.
That was fun.
Thanks for
Matt.
having us, Beth.
Thanks, Beth. Bye.